Cartooner, the Fast and Furious game of drawing comics, published by Japanime games. This is definitely a little bit of a party game. It is a game that is light on rules, but can be a lot of fun with the right players. So it's not just, take a game, add players, rather add players that are in the right mood, they want to be creative, they want to have a good laugh, and then the game can really work. Basically, well, guess what? You will draw comics. The game will last 4 rounds. In each round, you will draw a longer comic than before. You have a limited amount of time that remains the same throughout the game, so all rounds will last the same. So in later rounds, you will have to draw more panels within the same amount of time, so it becomes more challenging, and then each round you will score in different ways. Now what we find in the box is the rule book, which is very well done. We find sheets that you will give to players, and each sheet has a very good reminder of the rules. Basically, I almost think if you just read what these things say, what these sheets say, you almost don't read the rulebook. Almost all of the main points of the rulebook are summarized here at the bottom of these sheets of paper. And basically you give 4 of them to each player. 1 for round 1, 1 for round 2, round 3, and round 4. So as you can see, the panels become 2, 4, 6, and 8 respectively. These sheets, from the point of view of production, I think that the game doesn't give you enough of them, or gives you too many of them. I'll explain later in the conclusions what I mean. Also, what else do we have? We have tokens to keep track of points, a deck of themes, and a deck of trends. We'll see what those are. At the beginning of the game, you shuffle these cards and you give 3 themes to each player. For example, say a player receives ships and submarines, reality television, and plants, and another player receives hunting and fishing, fighting with strange objects that aren't real weapons, and artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. So you can have some really weird sets. In fact, you want them for the game to be fun, and pretty much we had a house rule that is, if your set is not weird enough, that is, it's too easy, makes too much sense, other players can veto it. Basically, when everybody has their sets, say, I like this one, skateboarding, bad puns, and funny names, that would work. But if somebody had skateboarding and sport and young people, then probably the group would veto it. So each player receives 3 themes, so that, as the rules say, those 3 themes become your obsessions. Why not to call them obsession cards then? I don't know, big mystery. And so they keep those for the rest of the game, so they will have to try to have those themes in their cartoons all 4 times. Now, starting from later turns, so there will also be these other cards added, which are the trend cards, but we'll see what happens next. So each player receives those. Each player is working in round 1 on this sheet here, and each player also needs a writing drawing implement. As a group, people select the difficulty mode, so which is 5, 6, or 8 minutes. Suppose that we go apprentice, then we have 6 minutes. You start a timer, probably you will want to use your phone for that, and each player will simply draw a comics trying to use their obsessions. At the end of the time, when the time is done, players will gain fame points, which are victory points. These parameters here will be checked in all 4 rounds. You will always score these things if you get them. That is, you will always get each round 1 point per obsession drawn or mentioned. And just try not to cheat too much and say, oh, I always wanted to create a teleporting skateboard. Called, whatever, you had a bad pun or a funny name, called Skateboardioportation Labazagazagabloob. So try to draw them, it's just more fun that way. 2 points for not exceeding 3 word balloons. This is very important because, in fact, comics are a visual medium mainly, otherwise it's illustrated literature. I really like the fact that the story should be conveyed mainly by images. With 2 panels, it's easy not to exceed 3 word balloons. With 8, you really have to rely on the visual medium. And then 2 points bonus for filling all panels. Again, with 2 pages, with 2 panels, not hard. With 8, more interesting. So you will always score your themes, no more than 3 balloons, and filling all panels. So players do that, and they, at the end of the round, they show what they have. Most likely, first round, everybody scores all their points, which is 7 points. Starting from round 2, the player with the least points is the Trendsetters. How come the least popular player sets a trend? Mystery. The Trendsetter in round 2 will draw 2 trend cards and select one to be in effect. In round 3, 3 cards are selected and 2 are in effect. And in round 4, 4 are selected. 4 are drawn and 3 are in effect. What are these cards? They will simply give you extra ways of scoring, possible ways. You don't have to score using them, but if you do, that's pretty much how you win the game. Some of these will give you ungodly amount of points. Say here, you gain 1 point for each panel that contains either someone with bugged out eyes, sticking out their tongues, or anvil falling. Here we got the Nancy Drew one, include a mystery for 2v3 points, and maybe one of your cards is mystery, so you just got lucky that way. Gain extra 5 for writing the most questions. Who did it? Where it was? Where was it? Etc. 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 Reboot. Oh, this is a strange one. Any player who wants may discard up to 2 of their obsessions and draw 2 new ones. Gain 5 for writing the longest word balloon by word count. I'm just going to show you these because they really are, in a sense, the heart of the game. First, because they change every time, so they keep the game fresh. So your themes may always be the same, but trust me, if you have to do skateboarding and teleportation with plant or white animals, or bugged out eyes, or a fantasy theme, or no words in your comic that are more than 5 letters long. This is a fun one. I love it. Or 2 points for including people with capes or fighting crimes, etc., etc., etc. So this is really the heart of the game. I'm gonna go through some cards, not read them all, but this way you can pause if you so desire and get a sense of what these cards do. So, as you can, and again, it's very important to remember that there will be multiple ones because the most creative players will follow their obsessions and also score points from those. Sometimes those are so valuable that you're okay losing a point for not using one of your obsessions, so you can score points from those. By the way, very important, after, of course, at the end of each round, after people are done, people show their comics to everybody. They tell the story. To me, it's even better if you give it to another player and the other player has to read it, because that really shows that the comic works as a comics. Otherwise, sometimes you're just people during the story, when they're showing their product, adding most of the story, and then again, I don't know if it's a comic book or oral narrative with illustrations. In any case, any way you want to do it, players will show their work to other players so that everybody will check how many points are scored. You give points to players represented by these tokens, and at the end of round 4, the player with the most victory points is the winner of the game. The box says that the game can be played by 1 to 8 players, so I would not go above 5, I would say. Otherwise, then in the phase when players are showing their work, the game can become a little long, can drag a little. But it can be played solo and doesn't feel like it's something that's been just pasted on, or let's write that on the box. It really works. I played it solo several times, and it's actually surprisingly fun and challenging. Now, as for production, I mentioned the fact that I think the game has not enough sheets or too many sheets. Meaning, it's great to have those sheets that have such an effective player aid so that each player knows exactly what they're supposed to do. each round. But there aren't all that many. I played the game with 7 people, then I played solo a couple of times, and I already used about half of the sheets. If I was going to have a game night where we played twice, I think I don't have any anymore. But those can be easily replaced. Now I can just pick normal sheets of paper and we draw 2 panels and 4 and 6 and 8. We can do that. We are not great artists, but we can do that. So in a sense, I'm thinking either it would have been great if the box came with a lot more, maybe double-sided also, or why not to have the travel version, which doesn't have them at all? Then you simply could add 8 cards that are player rates. You give 1 to each player, because as a player rate, that's all you need. You don't need it printed on each sheet. Like round 1, 3 themes, that's the basic thing you score. Round 2, these are how many trend cards you get. Round 3 and round 4. So you could do that, and then the box would be this big, simple, with the tokens, the cards, and these player rates. So I wish that either we had a really big bunch of those sheets, or we didn't have any at all. As is, I'm gonna have this box, which is fairly large, and soon it's gonna only have the cards and the tokens, and we're gonna use normal sheets of paper to play. Because I think we're gonna play it again, because it is fun. It is just fun. Again, like many party games, like many games that rely really on the creativity of the players for the game to be fun, you need the right group, you need the right people. You don't need the great artists, stick figures are fine, but you do need somebody who wants to tell a good story. Because the game can be gamed. There was, at some point, a player was like, wait a second, the rules don't say I had to draw an entertaining story, I only had to check the boxes. That is true, and so if you have somebody that just explained this as if this is a Euro game, well, that is gonna weaken the experience for everybody. So just know your players, or house rules that in fact each round then the players can assign extra points if the story was entertaining. Which again means you need the players to be in the kind of spirit that, yes, I'll give you a couple of points because that story was flipping awesome and I don't care if I lose because of that. The points, again, if you want to enjoy the game, the points, the victory should be secondary to we want to have a good time drawing comics in a more structured way, in a game format, but we need to play to win, but not to be obsessed about the victory. Other thing, of course, if players do know the medium of comics, the language of comics, then the comics are going to be more effective. Otherwise, you're gonna hear a lot of explanation during the story phase, explanation, the players telling you how those weird images that have nothing to do with one another are a story. And again, you can house rule to give points for how cartoonish, meaning how conveyed by the medium of comics and cartoon a story is. Well, we just could read the story and understand everything without any extra explanation. Maybe we give you an extra point. You had to tell us how those images form a story. You don't get that bonus. And that's something that is great about games that are this light, because you can house rule them so much. Again, this is a game even more than other kinds of games about just having a good laugh, having a good time together, and so you should just house rule the heck out of it if you need to do so to make the game fit the needs and taste of your group. In general, if you like comics, if you had the right people in the right mood, this is a really fun game. It's ridiculously easy to teach. You almost don't have to teach. You give them the sheets that you find in here while supplies last. It just go, because the sheets will tell people the rules. Try to get people relaxed, because they'll fear that they are not good at drawing, therefore they're not good at playing this game. This is not the case. It's a fun game. Right people, right group, this can be a really fun family and party game.